The government was hoping that they could sort of sucker 90% of the population into getting vaccinated, and it isn't happening, right? There's younger people are well aware of what the risks really are, and they're well aware of the side effect profile of the vaccines. They're becoming more aware of that, and they don't want to.
That was a coronavirus contrarian. His name is Alex Berenson, speaking to a cheering crowd at the Conservative Political Action Conference, also known as CPAC. Now, as we all know, conservatives are against getting vaccinated. Everything related to the coronavirus has unfortunately turned into a culture war topic for the right wing that, of course, wants to deflect from the fact that they don't have any solutions for the very real problems Americans are suffering from and facing right now. Now, the Delta variant, something that we've been talking about on the show, is a mutation of the coronavirus, which is far more contagious. And luckily for now, those who are fully vaccinated, Cenk, don't have to worry about being hospitalized if they unfortunately contract the Delta variant, which is why the coronavirus vaccine is so important. But that's not to say that future mutations could be, the vaccine could be resistant to future mutations. With that said, I just want to give you some numbers and then I want to get your thoughts on that cheering crowd. Across the United States, only 48% of the population is fully vaccinated, but in some states that number is actually much lower, according to the CDC data. Now, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Wyoming, and Mississippi all have around 35% or less of their populations fully vaccinated. And then when you look across the country, more than 99% of US COVID-19 deaths in June, 99% were among unvaccinated people. And that's according to the CDC. And the unfortunate reality of the coronavirus pandemic is, while we were finally seeing less and less people getting new cases, like new cases of coronavirus, unfortunately the numbers are now going up. The United States is averaging about 19,455 new cases over the last 7 days, a 47% increase from the week prior, according to Johns Hopkins University. And a third of those who come from, a third of them come from 5 hotspots: Florida, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and Nevada. And I should also note that we're seeing an increase in young people contracting the virus and getting hospitalized as a result. 91% of ICU patients are on ventilators, and many are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. At the peak last year, they were only 40 to 50% of ICU patients on ventilators. So what that clown said in the beginning of this story with that clip was inaccurate about young people.
So look, at this point, we're exhausted from covering how the right wing is punching themselves in the face. Oh yeah, we'll own the libs by being the only ones still getting hospitalized and dying from COVID. That'll show the libs. Okay, fine, show us from your grave. Okay, I'm vaccinated, man. I can get my kids vaccinated, I'm done with all you guys. So the interesting part of this story is, if you're outside this country, you gotta be wondering why. Why did the right wing choose to be against vaccines? There's actually a fringe element of the left that's always been against vaccines. And so it didn't have to be the right wing, could have been the left wing, but why did the right wing choose to be against this? Because it doesn't have to be so, and the right wing is normally more authoritarian. And so when the government says something, they're more likely to listen to it, historically, right? And so my theory is that they hate the establishment so much that anything the establishment says, right or wrong, I'm not gonna do nuance, I live in a black and white world. If a government scientist tells me something, I hate it, right? If the CDC tells me something, well, that's from the government, I hate it, right? Now, this started when Trump was in office, even with a Republican president, a fall populist that they love, right? But now, okay, so the germ of that, if you will, was Trump saying he didn't like masks because he didn't like the way that it made him look. So the madness begins, right? And then it somehow morphed into anti-vaccine, but partly because Trump then hated Fauci, because Fauci was trying to save people's lives, and all the scientists and all the doctors are trying to save people's lives, and Trump is saying, shut up, it's gonna hurt my beloved stock market. Shut up, shut up, shut up, I don't care about these lives. So the right wing was like, oh, dear leader says we are against science and we are against all scientists. We are now all against scientists. We will march into our grave. It's basically a macro death cult. It's Jonestown on steroids. So that's why when you have a kook say now in front of a right-wing audience, ha, don't get vaccinated. Die and show those libs you own them and live rent-free in their head for as long as you're alive. The crowd goes nuts. Yeah. Darwin Awards and all that, man. So as soon as everybody else is vaccinated, you guys fester in your toxic, now at this point, quite literally toxic viral pool of nonsense and disease that you live in. And it's this sad, sick state of conservatives in this country.
Yeah, and look, I think that it is their right to do whatever they want with their bodies. I'm consistent on that. The difference here, though, is that their behavior has an impact on everyone else, including people who have been vaccinated.
I hear you. You know what? I'm actually starting to get like, the thing that's swinging me on that, Anna, is the graphic you read earlier and that we've actually mentioned a couple times in the last week or so, right? Now there are studies saying, no, for sure, 99% of the people that are hospitalized are not vaccinated.
Right, that's true for now.
If you're vaccinated, you're good. You're a very, very good chance of not getting really sick, okay? If that holds, then I say, okay, then if it's not gonna affect the vaccinated, I don't care at all. Freedom, baby.
Though, for now, and I say that because in the future, as the virus continues to mutate among those who refuse to get vaccinated, we don't know if there will be a variant that the vaccine is no longer resistant to, right?
I hear you.
So there's that, but then there's the other thing, which we're already getting a little taste of in California. So the new coronavirus cases are increasing now, and what does that mean? That means soon there will be calls for mask wearing again, possibly some closures, who knows? I don't know what the future will bring, but the idea of having to wear masks again is gonna discourage other people who might be open to getting vaccinated from getting vaccinated. Because the best part about getting vaccinated, other than the fact that it like really minimizes your risk of dying, is that you feel free. You feel free. I remember like the day that I was fully vaccinated, right? It's been several weeks after I've gotten my second shot. I'm good. Went outside and I was like, I don't have to walk out with a mask. It's the best feeling, right? For me, that's like a huge selling point of getting vaccinated. So like they're causing so much damage and so much harm, and it's so frustrating. And why do they want to die? Why? I know that they don't think they're going to, right? And then they end up hospitalized. And some doctors say, I've come across so many unvaccinated people who ended up getting hospitalized, and there's that look of regret on their faces. I hope there's a look of regret. I hope they survive it, and I hope they become a little smarter and do the right thing. But it's just frustrating because, as I've said before, this just reminds me of like a high school final project that you got to do with a group, right? And you need everyone to work together, and it's always chaotic and it's always a disappointment because some people are not team players. And in a society that encourages individualism, I guess I'm not that surprised by it. But one other thing I want to note is, and we should talk about this, now there are some calls for vaccine mandates, right? So let's listen to Anthony Fauci, who spoke to Jake Tapper about what went down during CPAC and how the crowd was cheering wildly for not meeting our vaccination rates. Let's look.
The crowd cheering when this gentleman talks about how the government was not able to achieve a 90% vaccine goal. The crowd cheers. As a public health official, what's your reaction when you hear that?
It's horrifying. I mean, they're cheering about someone saying that it's a good thing for people not to try and save their lives. I mean, if you just unpack that for a second, Jake, it's almost frightening to say, hey, guess what? We don't want you to do something to save your life. Yay! Everybody starts screaming and clapping. I just don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it either. And in that same interview, Fauci floated the idea, suggested that maybe there does need to be a vaccine mandate, like a localized vaccine mandate in particular parts of the country where, of course, you see the most resistance to the vaccine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see more information on that to make up our minds completely. But where I am right now is I don't love the idea. It's a mess. How are you gonna enforce these mandates? And if you're a business, that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's gonna be a total mess in schools, whether you're removing kids from the schools. Look, guys, just let's all get vaccinated and then leave them in their cesspool. Guys, I get it, right? It creates a danger for the rest of us, right? But most of the world is not vaccinated, and that's a giant danger to the rest of us. And so it is what it is in that sense. I'm not gonna tie these people down and make them get vaccinated. They're just gonna hate us more. They're gonna create more violence, more problems, etc. How much can you try to help someone before you give up on them? So I'd rather give up on them, honestly, than do mandates and create a bigger mess.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.